Good evening. This is a run-through of the talk, Geometry, the Glue of Matter. The 7 liberal arts and sciences were the basis of a classical education. It started in the study of the trivium, or 3 roads, of grammar, logic, and rhetoric. After mastering these subjects, the Bachelor of Arts would show their knowledge by teaching these subjects to the next class while studying for their master's degree in the quadrivium, which was arithmetic, geometry, astronomy and astrology, the same thing, and music or vibration, the same thing. Well, this list first appeared in Martinus Capella's poetic drama Die Nuptialis Philologiae Mercurii, or The Marriage of Philosophy and Mercury, or Philosophy and Change, around 1415 AD in Roman Asia. It was actually the Roman Boethius, 400 AD to 524 BC, whose Consolation of Philosophy made it popular. It was adopted by the Catholic Church as a Roman study, as the educational platform for civilization. Despite being a pagan, you may celebrate St. Boethius's feast day on October 23rd in any Catholic church today. But these 7 are not ancient history, but a guide to building an understanding of the world that anticipates future events which will still conform to the rules of relationships, no matter what the objects, numbers, words, or events. The search for underlying truth, the rules of nature, a system of the world, the science of both God and his creation is embedded in these 7. Grammar is words in relationships. Logic is the interaction of facts. Rhetoric combines words and emotions for effect, while arithmetic examines numbers or objects in combination. Geometry tracks the relationships between objects in space. Astronomy tracks them in both time and space, while the study of vibrations and music is the interaction of vibrations in time as rhythm and pitch as notes. But of them all, geometry, by which Freemasons prove the order, beauty, and wisdom of the Creator by the perfect points of his creation, is the greatest. So geometry is relationships in space, by which rules both the stars and atoms. By looking beneath specific circumstance, objects, or people involved, we can determine the underlying laws of nature and follow the tide rather than swim against it while navigating to our desired destination. We learn to observe, induce, deduce, hypothesize, experiment, analyze, and clearly explain a theory that describes a class of reactions in the universe. Pythagoras' golden verses say, "The stars in the heavens sing a music, if only we had ears to hear." There is a geometry in the humming of the string. There is music in the spacing of the spheres in the heavens. What we're going to consider in geometry, we're going to use a specific identification of what is called Euclid's 42nd problem. However, we're going back to 1114 BCE, and the Indian mathematician Bhaskara II who first wrote about what we call this problem. 500 years later, Thales of Miletus, 624 BCE, who praised geometry as the greatest in space, for it holds all things, and was perhaps the teacher of our forefather Pythagoras, around 570 to, let's say 500 BCE, who expressed it as a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Euclid of Alexandria, 300 BCE, explored it in his Elements, and it was preserved by the Arabs, rediscovered by the Italians in the Renaissance, and adopted by the Roman Catholic Church, who also made Euclid a saint, which is amazing since he lived 300 years before the birth of the Savior Christ. So, these are two different representations from 500 or 600 years apart of the same issue, which is how to get the right angle square of a triangle, and how to correctly tell the area around it. And this is very useful in surveying, for example. If you can make a right angle triangle, you can then extend that through these methods and survey large parcels of land. Geometry is a set of rules induced from observation and refined by deductions into a set of principles about physical relationships. As scientific principle, it is constantly being challenged to adapt to new observations as we learn to see beyond the human senses through technology, induction, from known facts, and intuition. Here we have Bhaskara II and Pythagoras' explanation for this fundamental relationship of all physical objects in space with angles and volume. Geometry applies to all physical spaces we have discovered because it is about the relationships between them rather than the objects themselves. One size does not fit all. We have invented specific geometries for flat, curved, and even imaginary space, but there are always new discoveries to be made about God's creation, both about us and within us. Philosophy takes the lessons of geometry, physics, and the world around us to the spiritual world within. In the original poetic drama of Martinus Capella's poetic drama, Marriage of Philosophy and Change, it is the marriage of change and Mercury with the understanding of philosophy that brings understanding of nature's processes to mankind. We see far when we stand on the shoulders of giants, such as Bhaskara II, Thales, Pythagoras, Euclid, Newton, Leibniz, and Robert Hooke. These are great shoes to fill, my friends, and the challenge is open to all who observe, induce, deduce, hypothesize, experiment, and theorize what makes this system of the world, God's amazing creation, function. Thank you. Thank you. This is Chuck 2.0 on Monday, June 26th at 6:30, Willis St. John, concluding my practice.